We're going to explore why silver is primed to soar when interest rates fall. You may be wondering, what does silver have to do with interest rates? Well, let me tell you, the relationship is much stronger than you think. When central banks like the Federal Reserve start to lower interest rates, it's typically a sign the economy is slowing down. Lower interest rates are also a tool to stimulate borrowing and investment, but this can also lead to increased credit risk. Is this defining Keynesian economics or Austrian monetary economics? Please tell me. I think if you're a TED head, you know where this is coming from. Credit risk is simply the likelihood that creditors won't be able to repay their debts. When the economy weakens, credit risk arises because companies and individuals face tougher financial conditions. As this risk increases, investors start to look for safer places to park their money. Silver becomes a very attractive option in this environment because it's tangible and it's not subject to the risk of paper assets like bonds or stocks. However, let's focus on government-issued silver, not just silver in a bar form or a round form. Let's focus on silver as money, at least in the countries where we're living. As fear and uncertainty rise in the market, people tend to flock to precious metals, and silver has a long history as a hedge against instability. When interest rates fall, the opportunity cost of holding silver or any other precious metal decreases. Why? Opportunity cost is the cost of forgoing the next best alternative. When interest rates are high, the opportunity cost of holding silver, which doesn't yield any interest, is higher because you could be earning interest in bonds or savings accounts, although with risk. But as interest rates fall, the return on traditional paper assets also falls, and the cost of holding those silver assets go down. The people start to realize that holding silver doesn't come with the same trade-offs anymore. There's no income being lost by holding it. As a result, demand for silver picks up as more investors look for tangible store of value that can hold its purchasing power in times of financial uncertainty. When interest rates are cut, it signals a loss of confidence in the government-issued money, a phenomenon we've seen throughout history. Central banks, throughout their monetary policies, often end up printing more money to try and stimulate the economy. That's Keynesian economics, which leads to currency debasement. Happens all the time. The more money the government prints, the less valuable that money becomes. Who are we talking about here? Voltaire. All current fiat currencies return back to their intrinsic value. Zero. Voltaire. People realize that purchasing power of fiat currency is at risk of eroding, and they begin seeking alternatives. Yes, the smart people do. That's where silver comes into play. Silver is a physical asset, the hard asset that's been used for thousands of years as money. When fiat money becomes more scarce and the purchasing power declines, silver steps in as a storage of value and it heads against inflation. So your purchasing power, your time on earth is finite. There's not that much of it, folks. So it shouldn't be matched with something that's infinite and created on a keyboard. If your purchasing power is finite, then what you're using to measure your purchasing power should be finite as well. Otherwise, you're taking your power and you're giving it to the banks. And what do? They wage wars and do all kinds of crazy stuff to us. Unlike paper currencies, silver cannot be printed on a whim. It's limited, rare, and durable, characteristics that make it an ideal alternative currency in times of economic insecurity. One final factor to consider is the scarcity of government-issued money. This is it. They're destroying dimes. As central banks lower interest rates, they often implement quantitative easing, which is essentially just a fancy term for printing more money. Then I bother to print it. It's just on a keyboard. The flood of money into the economy raises inflationary pressures, and eventually that money becomes less and less valuable. Yeah, so we take a look at the vibe board over here. You can see that the cost of a new car since 2000 has more than doubled, as well as a new house, as well as college tuition. But what has not doubled is your income. You can't keep pace in this situation. That's why all fiat currencies fail. However, silver is a scarce resource. The supply of silver is limited by mining production. What are we doing? Are we encouraging mining or discouraging mining? We're discouraging it. We want to hold what it is that the rest of the people don't. And unlike fiat currency, can't be printed into existence. We know this. This scarcity, combined with the rising demand as value of paper declines, creates a perfect storm. Sorry, I know what's coming. You guys are going to be so happy. Creates the perfect storm for silver's price to soar. You'll see. I know. This is going to be so much fun. Margaret and I working our asses off for over a year now, trying to get the message out, coming out of pocket. It's going to be so worth it. You're going to hear "I told you so" 500 times a day. investors start flocking to silver against a diminishing dollar and other government issued currency. Sorry, I'll get it back together. When interest rates fall, we see an increase in credit risk, a decrease in the opportunity cost of holding silver, and a greater need for alternative fiat currency. You guys ought to ask for a copy of this. It's brilliant, really. Some of my best work. As government issued money becomes increasingly scarce and less valuable, people begin to realize that silver holds value that isn't subject to manipulation or debasement. Those guys are being locked up and taken out. All these factors come together, making silver an attractive option for investors. You can safe haven. Don't we all want to safe haven? I do. As more people turn to silver, its price is driven higher. So as we continue to monitor interest rates and global remember this, when central banks lower interest rates, silver becomes even more an essential part of financial equation. It's a tangible, reliable asset in times of economic turbulence and is poised to see significant growth as the world turns to precious metals for stability. Thank you for tuning in and joining us this morning. Get ready to hear I told you so many times. And I hope you walk away with a deeper understanding of the role silver will play as interest rates fall. Stay sharp, stay informed, and as always, keep stacking, brothers. We're doing, and sisters, we're all doing this together. Let's make sure we're ready for what's coming. I am, and hope you guys are too. This is
It's dangerous! Here we are!
The World Bank confirms that Saudi Arabia and Qatar have paid off Syria's outstanding debt. A new future for them. True game changer.
Breaking news. Trump didn't just lift sanctions on Syria. He fired a shot at every global institution that thought they still ran the world. No UN approval, no congressional vote, just one handshake, and 10 years of isolation vanished. For over a decade, Syria was locked out of the global economy. Now, Trump opened the gates with a single move. And this wasn't charity. It was calculated disruption. In return, Syria, backed by Gulf funding, is launching a new AI energy corridor. That corridor bypasses Chinese ports, redirects European oil flow, and places Washington, not Brussels or Beijing, back at the center of global infrastructure. Trump didn't send troops. He sent business plans. And for the American people, cheaper oil billions in defense contracts, one less endless war draining your wallet. But beyond politics, one thing is clear. Trump didn't wait to win back the White House to start acting like he owns the map. You might not like how he plays the game, but when was the last time foreign policy actually paid off?
Go to the main line. Breaking, the Supreme Court blocks President Trump from deporting Venezuelan aliens said to be in Tren de Aragua under the Alien Enemies Act for the time being. However, via the obvious corruption of some of the individuals on the bench, the SCOTUS is being exposed for being deep state apparatus that it is. Not going to allow him to do it. The Supreme Court has just ruled that the worst of the murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and even those who are mentally insane who came into our country illegal are not allowed to be forced out without going through a long, protracted, and expensive legal process, one that will take possibly many years for each person, and one that will allow these people to commit many crimes before you even see the inside of a courthouse. The result of this decision will let more criminals pour into our country, doing great harm to our cherished American public. It will also encourage other criminals to illegally enter our country, wreaking havoc and bedlam wherever they go. The Supreme Court of the United States is not allowing me to do what I was elected to do. Sleepy Joe Biden allowed millions of criminal aliens to come into our country without any process, but in order to get them out of our country, we had to go through a long and extended process. In any event, thank you to Justice Alito and Justice Thomas for attempting to protect our country. This is a bad and dangerous day for America.
Fox News alert, a major investigation has just been launched into the former FBI director, James Comey, for posting a threat to the life of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Comey, not a fan of Trump, posted a picture of shells on a beach that say 8647. The caption, cool shell formation on my beach walk. Why the numbers 86 and 47? The number 86 is common military code to take out someone or something. And Trump is the 47th president. When people caught on, Comey tried to cover it up. He deleted the post and replaced it with this, quote, I posted earlier a picture of some shells I saw today on a beach walk, which I assumed were a political message. I didn't realize some folks associate those numbers with violence. It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, so I took the post down. A political message? I don't think so. He's the former FBI director. He had the codes. He knows what it means. Trump's already faced 2 assassination attempts. Comey should know better, and let's be honest, he probably does. The White House says it's taking the threat seriously, and it's all hands on deck. The FBI, DHS, and the Secret Service are now investigating the threat and will respond appropriately. He deserves to be interrogated. Did he really just stumble upon this thing during a beach walk? How do we know he wasn't the one who lined up the shells? He's been caught in so many lies already, we can't believe anything he's